Hello, everybody. Dreadful Talk Time, episode 27. I'm coming to you live from South Lake Tahoe, California this time. Had to get out of the city. It feels great to be up in the mountains, going snowboarding on Saturday. Pray for my knees. Hopefully, I don't, wreck myself too hard. And I have a very special guest for you guys this week. Like most of us, huge dog guy, loves dogs. And this week's guest, Logan Collins, helps, rescue dogs, helps foster dogs, helps find them a home, and just really does fantastic work. I'm a big fan of her work. And let's go ahead and bring her on. It's episode 27 of Dreadful Talk. Let's get this show on the road. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. Do you mind just turning that phone sideways real quick?
Oh,
And then,
yeah.
no, you're good.
Oh,
And
wait,
then,
this way.
there you go.
This
Hey,
way.
if you want to rock it upside down, that's fine too. No worries. But yeah, I really appreciate your time. This is episode 27 of Dreadful Talk. And for everybody watching, listening, this is Logan Collins. And I'm just going to let you just kind of introduce yourself, let people know, what you do, who you do it with, and then, we can just kind of dive in.
Okay, well, I'm Logan Collins. I am one of the co-founders of 405 Animal Rescue. And so what we do is, whether we mostly do dogs and cats, but whether it's, an animal that's up for euthanasia, an animal that's been dumped, an animal that's been given away, a stray animal, a hurt animal, it doesn't really matter where they come from, or, age, breed, anything like that. We try our best to find a foster home, raise funds to get them treated medically, whatever it is that they need. And then once they're, good to go medically and behavioral wise, try to find them homes. So we have foster homes. I think that we have, it's at least around 100. It's probably over 100 foster homes
That's
for dogs
awesome.
and for cats. Yeah. And just since May, because we were just incorporated in May. We all did rescue stuff before with other rescues, but we're just incorporated since May. And we've already had 300 animal adoptions. So
Oh,
we're
yeah.
like, oh my gosh. I mean, it was super awesome. We knew that it would take off, I guess, but not as much as it has. It's been really awesome.
Yeah, man. I think it's like that thing, right? Like I really believe most people like want to do good, and like especially when it comes to animals, like who
Right.
most people out there, want what's good for animals, but most people are also just whether it be lazy or they just don't know how to go about it, or just I think it just takes that initiative of just somebody like
Hmm.
yourself kind of just, like, hey, this is a thing now, and then once people see that it's a thing, like people won't go out of the way to create the thing, but when
Right.
they see it's a thing, they want to be a part of it. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying like that's actually a good thing.
Well, and another thing is, I think that the whole concept of fostering and even adopting animals is fairly new. I mean,
Mm,
I didn't really know anything about it until, the last couple of years. And I think that, I mean, my family, we've always, when we are ready for a new animal, what kind of dog do we want? What kind of cat do we want? And we would search, who is breeding those kinds of dogs. We didn't know anything else. And I think I just started seeing Facebook posts, like a few years back, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I had no idea. So I think just getting the word out there more makes people more comfortable with the idea. So, I mean, they're educated more about it. So they're like, oh, it makes sense.
yeah, yeah. I think that's definitely fair to say. So like, what made you kind of take that leap from being somebody like, oh, I like dogs, I like animals, to like, oh, like I'm gonna actually dedicate a large portion of my energy and time and really, go that extra mile with it.
Right. I so yeah, I've always liked animals. I mean, not even in like a I don't know, not even in a huge way. I've just been like, oh yeah, animals are cute, that dog's cute, whatever. Never really cared that much. And my family got a dog, and my brother was 12 years old at the time, having to take care of this dog, and it was just a lot for him. So, the whole family was helping out and stuff. So I started helping out, and I was like, wait a second, I really like this dog. And so when I moved out of my parents' house, I was like, can he come with me? And they were like, well, sure, I guess. And he was supposed to be a 30-pound dog, like little tiny thing. He's like 75-pound pit
Oh
mix,
shit.
like he's huge. And I was always like the little fluffy, dainty puppies. So I kind of just bonded with him a lot. And I mean, I call him my soul mutt now. I'm like, that's my boy. But I think, I guess, just seeing his progress through training and just different issues that he had, seeing him overcome those things and helping him through that, I was like, okay, this is really cool. Like, I really am a lot more interested in this than I thought. So, and then, like I said, Facebook posts and just different groups from different rescues or shelters and stuff, I was like, that's really cool. So once I got in a position where I was able to foster, where, you know, I had a house and I had a yard and stuff like that, then I just did it and I was like, this is fun, and I just never stopped. And
Yeah,
so
that's
yeah,
awesome. I
the
just
other, oh, go ahead.
Oh, nothing. I'm just saying I love just like regardless of like what it is, I like when people like put their mind to something and then like see it all the way through and put that effort and it's clear that's what you've done. So just, respect to you on that front.
Well, and the two other co-founders for 405 Animal Rescue, like we all met each other as just fostering animals and just became friends and decided, hey, this is a mission that we all have and we want to see, you know, how far we can take this, how much we can do. You know, I don't want to just stop with just fostering. Let's start this whole big, I don't know, this whole big group and get other people involved. And so it's been, I don't know, like I said, it kind of took off and we didn't expect it to that quick.
No, that's great. That's a great, what a great thing to take off. Man, so like, yeah, I think I just want to touch on something because you mentioned like, once you were, older and moving out and getting your own place and you have a dog, then it's a completely different experience than having a dog as a kid that say,
Right.
your parents are buying the food for you, your parents are bathing them or whatever the case may be. Like that blew my mind because I had dogs growing up
Hmm.
and, my relationship to those dogs, and it's kind of makes me sad thinking about it, like in retrospect, but just being real, like it was nowhere near the same to like my relationship that I have with my dog now. That
Right.
like I'm paying them vet bills, I'm buying the food, I'm walking them every morning. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
those things, I honestly like because on one hand, who doesn't have great childhood memories with a dog, but on the other hand, and this is going to kind of transition to another part of the conversation, like I feel like a lot of parents make a mistake by getting dogs for their kids. Like, because I can even
Yes.
speak from, like, I'm not speaking from a soapbox. I'm saying looking back on my own life, how I
Yeah.
treated those dogs when I was a kid and just what I knew about what being a dog owner meant and like the gravity of the responsibility and just
Right.
how much those dogs can feel and think. And I
You don't
just
even
didn't,
understand the amount of effort and money and time that goes in
yeah,
as a
yeah,
kid.
exactly. And everybody just wants to get their kid a dog. And do you find as somebody who essentially, finds homes for these dogs, do you feel like that's the origin of how these dogs become homeless? I feel like because that's just a narrative like what do they say like anecdotal evidence like I've seen a lot of that in my life. You either get
Right.
a dog and the parents are working too much to take care of it, or do you see a lot of that?
Yes, we see a lot of that. We see a lot of, you know, hey, my kids, we adopted this dog. The kids, and when people say this, they're like, my 7-year-old swore that they would feed the dog every day or let the dog. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what are you even thinking in the first
Yeah.
place?
No, that's
But
on you for believing a
yes.
7-year-old.
I'm like,
Exactly.
what in the world? But yeah, people will say, you know, my 7-year-old or my 10-year-old swore that they were going to help take care of this animal. And now I don't have time to take care of it because they're not doing anything but like, can you guys take him or I'm taking him to the shelter? And so that's a huge thing that we see. Once it's not a cute, fluffy puppy anymore, and the dog is big, and the dog is, you know, you're having to potty train it, or you're not exercising the dog, so they're being destructive. And so they're like, oh my God, this dog's terrible. I'm like, actually, no, you're just not taking care of it.
Oh
But that's
man.
actually another thing that we ask, like when people want to adopt from us, we ask like, why are you wanting to adopt a dog? And you have to check mark. There's a few boxes you can say it's for myself, it's for me and my family. I want my other animal to have a companion. There's different things. And one of them says as a gift for someone else. So if
Yeah.
somebody says that, because also, you know, you'll have like a boyfriend that's like, or a husband that's like, oh my gosh, I want to get my wife a puppy for her birthday, you know, and then it's kind of the same situation in that sense if they haven't talked about it. He's like, I just want to surprise her with something cute, or vice versa. But no, that's a huge deal when
Yeah.
things are as puppies or kittens are as gifts, and then once they get bigger, they're not cute anymore.
Yeah, that's so gross to me. But I gotta say, at one point in my life, it wouldn't have been like I've kind of
Yeah,
like gone through this transition to where like when I was younger, you know what I mean? Like I looked at animals kind of like in not inanimate objects, but like I just didn't really understand how much of like a soul and like the emotions they have. Like I really
Yeah.
didn't grasp that. And and I don't know, I've just learned so much since I've had my most recent dog. And also I want to say for those people out there like that are doing this, you're doing yourself a huge disservice because having a puppy is low key like the worst part of having a dog. Like they're cute as all, all get out, but you know what I mean? Like
Everything
they're
that comes with it.
it's an absolute nightmare having a puppy. So
Yes.
and then like nothing's better than like a 5, 6, 7 year old dog. Like they already know how to dog. You know what I'm saying? They're pretty
Yes. You can take them
self-sufficient.
on a short walk and then they just chill on the couch with you the rest of the day. I'm like that.
Yep.
I told myself I was like I foster puppies, but I'm like I'll never like adopt another like baby puppy again. I'm like get me out of that puppy phase because that is the hardest part of it.
Yeah, I'm dealing with it right now. So I have like a little Maltipoo, and she's like 6 years old. She's an adult dog, and then
Hmm.
upstairs, there's like a brand new puppy, but I think it's an Airedale, I think, but it's like
Uh-huh.
twice her
Is it like
size.
scruffy?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
wiry hair, and it's like twice her size, but it's an absolute puppy. And so, like, just watching their dynamic together has been ridiculous, and also made me thankful I have an adult dog for
You're
sure.
like, thank the Lord, I'm not going through that right now.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So I gotta say, do you? I feel like stray dogs and stray cats are like looked at like very differently. And like, do you notice like a big just difference in like people's attitude or like, even the process of finding them a home or like just like because I feel like people like when people see a stray cat, like I feel like people know cats can catch mice and like
Right.
cats are more self-sufficient. I feel
Hmm.
like people don't feel as bad for stray cats, or is that just my country ass
No,
used
I
to?
no, I definitely agree with you. I definitely agree with you. Even where I live, like, or especially, I'm in like my neighborhood, but especially, even just all around Norman, I hardly ever see stray dogs. If I see a dog that's loose or something, most times, it's a dog that got out of his fence or something that belongs to somebody. There's stray cats everywhere. And I think people, I don't know if cats are just more resilient. I really don't know that much about cats. I want to know more about cats, but I
They're
don't know if cats are
mysterious.
just, yeah, I'm like, where do you guys go? How are you staying alive? It's freezing cold.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they can like
but
jump off buildings. They're
yes,
superheroes. They're like
they
little
have nine
superheroes.
lives.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Yeah, I noticed that. I noticed that people, but I also feel like on the flip side of that, as the whole gift giving, I feel like more
yeah,
people frivolously get dogs. Like people just get dogs and be like, "Oh, we'll see what happens." Like I feel like cat people get cats. Like they've already had a cat.
yeah,
They know how to treat a cat. I feel like people just be getting dogs willy-nilly or like I
I
don't know.
know. And it's crazy that it's that way because dogs need so much more training and structure and attention and exercise, all that kind of stuff. Cats can kind of do their own thing and they kind of want to do their own thing. In my experience, they're like, don't really mess with me. I mean, feed me and leave me alone. But
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it is kind of
exactly.
funny where, I mean, I feel like it would be the other way around.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So like, do you feel like there are any like misconceptions about like fostering dogs or like stigmas or like maybe even adopting a dog? Because like I feel like people be treating dogs like it's the new iPhone or the new just the new purse or just like oh I
Yeah.
got a full bred this I paid twenty five
I got
hundred
a
dollars for it.
doodle.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
but so and it's to me it's gross because I'm not a very like materialistic person anyway.
Same. Yeah.
And so to me like trying to flex a multi-thousand-dollar object is kind of lame. But when you that multi-thousand-dollar object is living, breathing life, it's
Yeah.
just even that much more disgusting to me.
I really do think it's disgusting, and I've had to really I used to get really like angry about it, like mad at people that I knew. I'd be like, I have a family member or a friend that sees all these dogs, or all these animals that are being posted, hey, this dog's gonna die for no reason other than, hey, the family was having a baby and decided they didn't want their dog anymore, but you're gonna go spend $4,000 to get some designer purse dog, like you said. And I'm just like, I just don't understand it. So it used to make me really upset, to the
Well,
point where I was like enraged about it. And I was like, I had to get to the point where the things that I know now, seeing what all I've seen in rescue and being involved, it's common knowledge to me now, but it's not common knowledge to like the general public. So I'm like, okay,
I
I need
feel
to
you.
not, yeah,
Yeah, I kind of struggle with that too because, like I said, I went through a very, like, transition of understanding when it
yeah,
comes to animals. And so, like, even if I was looking at my like 16-year-old self or something, I would probably
mm-hmm,
be judgmental as hell. So, you got to
yeah,
also remember, people can learn. These people aren't unredeemable. You know what I'm saying?
right,
Um, I feel like just kind of an interesting little, like, I like to look at things from like a societal perspective, and it's like there's only two kinds of people that like spending a lot of money on a dog. Like super rich bougie people or like super ratchet ghetto people. Like
yeah.
no in between. There's no middle ground. It's and
It's kind of true. It's kind of true.
yeah, no,
It really is so stupid. And so, like I said, it makes me mad. And I've had to get to the point where I'm like, okay, I feel so strongly about this issue. I'm not going to reach anybody or change anyone's opinion or views on this or get them to come to the light side or whatever, if I'm being hateful about it because I'm upset. So I just need to make sure that I'm educating people and doing my best to just share the actual truth of everything and not come across as, hey, I'm judging you.
yeah,
Because no
yeah.
one's going to want to work with me or my rescue or do anything like that or want to even change their opinion if they think that I'm judging them. So I've had to get to the point where I'm like, okay, take your personal like emotions out of it and just have the facts there,
Like
which then the
what's for
facts
the
speak for themselves.
Yeah, like what's for the greater good for sure. Like,
Yeah.
and there's also the fact too, like if somebody's already, bought a designer dog or whatever, like,
Yeah.
well, they have it now. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't like,
Yeah.
like maybe you can change their mind for the next dog they get, but
Right.
as of now, that's what they already just spent this money on the
Oh
dog. So
yeah. I mean, my family has my family, my mom's favorite kind of dog is a Bichon Frise. So it's like a little fluffy, kind of looks like a poodle. And so
okay,
she had one, years and years ago. The dog lived past of old age, and then she got another one, which this was still like 8 years ago. And like I said, the whole fostering and adopting thing is still kind of new to a lot of people. So she
yeah,
got that dog, we all love that dog, but the next little dog that she got was a dog that she adopted. So I was like, not that we don't love your little breeder dog,
totally,
like she's
yeah,
awesome, but
yeah, yeah, and then in a way, like, and it's a kind of a stretch, but in a way, like even them breeder dogs are like sometimes getting saved because you know what I'm saying, the breeder
yeah,
conditions it's definitely not a loving like warm scenario for those dogs. So it's not
yeah,
all bad, but it's definitely not the
yeah.
preferred
No,
method.
I agree. I agree. Those dogs need to be saved too. It just stinks that the cycle has to continue to get them out of that
Yeah.
situation. That's the only thing that I hate because, I'm sure you've seen the whole Petland thing, like opening in Oklahoma.
But please dive deep on that. Actually, I'm gonna give you
Yeah.
the floor because me being out here in California,
Yeah.
I've been kind of a little bit removed, but I have seen your post and a few other people. So just kind of enlighten me and the viewers.
Okay, so Oklahoma is like one of the top states in the United States for overpopulation and euthanasia rates for dogs.
Ah, that
So,
sucks.
like, it's
Oklahoma leads
awful.
in all the worst stats. I swear to fucking God. And I'm not saying that to shit on
I'm like,
Oklahoma. I'm
no,
saying
no.
that to like want better. You know what I'm
I'm
saying?
like, you're not doing great, Oklahoma.
Definitely. Oh man,
But
but continue. Sorry.
no, you're good. So yeah, so we already have these huge, huge problems. I mean, every single rescue in Oklahoma, every single shelter in Oklahoma is constantly, constantly overrun and full to the brim to where like there's not even enough people to foster these dogs sometimes, or there's not enough kennels at the shelter to take in all the dogs that we have because people. Oh, and also we don't have spay and neuter laws. So a lot of other states are able to manage, their euthanasia rates and their overpopulation rates because they have spay and neuter laws. Which in Oklahoma, animals are perceived by law as property. So dogs are property. So that like the spay and neuter stuff, euthanasia, it doesn't really matter to lawmakers and officials and stuff like that, which sucks. So we're out here trying to fight this overpopulation problem, fight for spay and neuter laws, all this stuff, clear the shelters, get these dogs out of there. And then we have two stores come open up in Oklahoma. One's in Tulsa and one just opened in Oklahoma City called Petland. Petland gets their puppies from breeders and puppy mills. Like if you look up the conditions of these mills, it's disgusting. Like you would
That's
cry or vomit
yeah,
or something, you know what I mean? It's like it's
yeah,
bad. And on top of that, they're charging $5,000 to $10,000 for, yeah, for even mixed breed puppies. I mean, yes, they have full blood puppies, but even mixed breed puppies, they're charging that much for. And so many of them are sick when they get adopted. So these people adopt this dog. This has already happened. This has already like been told to us by vet partners that we use in Oklahoma City, that these people go and adopt this dog for $7,000 thinking, it's a teeny tiny puppy. They think, okay, everything's great and fine. Then they get home and the puppy has parvo, which is
Yeah.
super, super deadly. And then they don't have enough money for the treatment. So it's just like, what is
Man,
happening?
if you don't got enough money for the treatment, don't buy no seven
Don't buy
thousand dollar
$7,000
dog. Oh my God, people suck,
Yes.
man. Oh, I swear.
Yes. It
Oh
is
yeah.
crazy.
That's so Pet Land, and that's not like affiliated with like Pet Smart or anything like
No.
that. It's like its own thing.
Yeah, yeah, and they're everywhere. They're all around the US, and they have a terrible reputation for just like all kinds of horror stories like what I just mentioned, but Oklahoma is like the last state that needs
That
one of these
needs
stores, and
it.
now we have two.
Oh my God, that sounds like some straight like Cruella Deville type shit. Like, oh my
Yes.
God, damn. Yeah,
It's
no, you
crazy.
you hate to hear that. Man. So kind of just we already talked about dogs as gifts. We've already talked about some of these puppy mills and things.
Hmm.
What are some other like leading causes of like dog homelessness? Like is like what I'll tell you first thing, a lot of things what happen here in the Bay, people get their dogs stolen. Like I have a little Maltipoo.
Oh.
Like we legit gotta like watch out. Like sometimes it's homeless people, sometimes it's somebody they'll literally like do like a ransom scheme, like take your dog and then wait till they see the reward poster and like it's scandalous. But
Oh my
like
gosh.
yeah, it's
That's
fucked up.
scary.
Like, oh man, I would. It's one of those things. I wish somebody would try that with me. But anyway,
Yes. I'm like,
like,
I will come after you.
yeah, definitely. I'm not playing that. But like, so like, what are some other causes you see? Like, do you think some of them are just accidents? Like they get out of the yard and get lost, or what do you? I mean, I know there are scumbags out there who like
Yeah.
release dogs on the side of the highway and fucked up shit
Right.
like that. Like, what are some? Or do you? I guess there's not really a way for you to know how these dogs became homeless.
A lot of it has to do with, like I said, the overpopulation and the spay and neuter thing. If people would spay and neuter their dogs, if there was some sort of law that prevented again or made people do that. But I think the main thing that we see is people have dogs and they have an accidental litter,
Yeah.
but then they still don't fix their dogs and they keep having accidental litter, accidental litter. So then, there's 10 puppies 2 times a year that are being given away for free in all these towns in Oklahoma. And then, the puppies, like I said, the puppy's cute for a little while, and then the puppy's on a chain in the backyard
Yeah.
or with no shelter, stuff like that. Um, I think the main thing is the accidental litters, and then,
Yeah, man,
the
and
the education problem. There's such an undereducation of all these issues that so somebody gets a dog and they don't want it anymore. Like I said, animals are viewed as property, so then they will take them out. I mean, we have went out, me and the other team members have went out to, I can't even tell you how many locations we've went out to, out in the middle of nowhere, where somebody's like, hey, this dog is skin and bones and has been eating like sticks and rocks to try to survive for the past 2 weeks. Can someone come get him? And it's like a dog, that knows how to sit and shake because he was somebody's dog at some point, and then they took him out there and dumped him. It's just crazy. The dumping and the accidental litters, I think, are what makes all the difference.
yeah, and I gotta say for those watching, listening on different platforms, like I'm not saying this from like a high horse perspective because I'm guilty, and when I'm talking like elementary school age,
Right,
how guilty is a kid at that age? But like I've done a
right.
lot of this fucked up shit we're talking about, like, and it really kills me knowing what I know now. Like I shit you not, like I get nights, I like night. Like I legit get sad thinking about some of my old dogs and maybe how I didn't give them as good of a life as they deserved and shit. And so people just know that you can learn, you can change, and also like I think and this is going to relate more to probably my Oklahoma viewers than some of my California viewers, but like there's this concept, this notion, like I said, which I fully participated in regretfully, of
Hmm.
like country dogs. Like,
Right.
I'm sure you hear that shit all the time. Like, oh, that dog don't need to come inside. That's a country dog. Or that
Yep.
dog only needs to eat, every couple of days, or just bullshit kind of just tropes that
Right.
get thrown out there. Because like I said,
Which
I
it's what,
grew up hearing that shit, and
yeah.
it's fucked up. And like,
Yeah.
like I said, if you're a kid and you're just like, oh,
You
okay,
don't
that's
know any
normal.
different.
Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it
but
goes for anything that you would think, and I mean, not just animals, but any kind of situation, or like I guess your view on any type of situation as a kid, you only think like what you're told or what you hear. So your parents, your family members, you know. So I've had that experience too with animal things, and like I said, I didn't know. It was just, I think it was like my last year in high school, or maybe it was right the year after that I started thinking differently about this stuff. But I think that everybody, until you know this kind of stuff, I think everybody could say that they've had situations where they're like, oh, it's fine, or that dog's an outside. I mean, any kind of thing like that, accidental litters, all that kind of stuff, until you know.
man, I grew up in neighborhoods in Purcell, Oklahoma, where like every single house in the neighborhood, and I'm not exaggerating, had a dog in a chain. Like, and
Yes.
that's Oklahoma. Oh, for those that don't know, watching from
That is
California,
Oklahoma in a nutshell.
yeah,
Like
and like Oklahoma,
drive through
yeah,
Oklahoma City, I have to, I mean, like my job, I go to different companies and stuff. So I'm always driving through just like random parts of Oklahoma City, and it kills me. It kills me because I'm like, I can't stop and just take this dog out of someone's yard, but it's on a chain. I'm like, it's 30 degrees outside. It's
yeah,
sprinkling, and this dog is just sitting there shivering. I'm like,
yeah.
and it sucks. I mean, Oklahoma City animal welfare, they're great. All of the animal welfare officers do the best that they can. It's just
Yeah,
there are so many cases, so many
totally.
cases. They couldn't possibly have time to
Oh
get
yeah,
all
or
of
the
these dogs.
resources.
Yeah, or the resources.
Definitely. Yeah, no, and for those aren't familiar, Oklahoma has some of the worst weather literally in the world. Like
Yeah.
snow in the wintertime, 110-degree summers with 90% humidity, tornadoes and storms all spring long, like a cold ass, windy ass fall. Like for those,
Yeah.
maybe watching from the Bay Area or whatever, like the Oklahoma's weather is like the last weather you'd want to leave a dog outside in. Like and so like when I first moved to the Bay Area, just talking about like cultural differences, I was on the wrong side of this. Like when I first moved here, I was like, oh my fucking God, everybody babies their dogs. Like it's not your kid. Like, I was one of those douchebags. And I was like,
And I see your posts of your little baby now.
oh, I know. Oh yeah. No, exactly. Exactly. I've seen the light. Like I've come full circle. So like, that's why I wanted to just like emphasize to people that it's not just like, a couple bleeding hearts. Like I used to be kind of on the wrong side of this. And I'm an example of how, you can just kind of progress and just realize like nothing's worse than like oh, that's just how things are type of person. Like
Yeah.
I'm the type of person, I got a question like, why am I doing this? Why do I like this? Why? Like I try to be like self assessments. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
like and it just started to not add up to me. Like oh, like would you want that or I don't
Right.
know. And you just get older, and like I said, it's different when you're caring for a dog itself, and yeah, but it's such a different mentality out here. Like out here, I mean, I'll say we maybe take it a little bit too far in the Bay, where
I
there's
love
like,
it. I
yeah,
would
there's
fit
like,
in with you guys then. People think I'm crazy for the way I am with my dogs. So I'm like, I'll just move out there with all my dogs.
yeah, like there's this neighborhood, Willow Glen, and it's really cool because it's kind of like a little campus corner vibe, a lot of like patio
Yeah.
restaurants and stuff, but like everything there is like dog friendly on the patio, so it's like a dog neighborhood
Oh,
essentially.
that's so
And
fun.
there's like designer dog like boutiques and fucking dog bakeries and like
Oh
all
my
types of
gosh.
shit. Yeah,
You're like,
it's
there's
wild.
more bakeries for dogs than there are for people.
Oh yeah, or like
That's my
even the
place.
people bakeries have like a dog section. Like I shit you not,
That's
it's really
amazing.
cool. Like before Corona, we were over there all the time. I definitely miss it.
That is so fun.
But yeah, so just yeah, culturally, and I think that divide, I mean, obviously goes a lot deeper issues than just dogs between Oklahoma and California, but
Right.
just that I feel like there's no better kind of just Venn diagram, contrast and compare example of like the societies than like when it comes to dogs. It kind of
Yeah.
displays a lot of other things like,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that states, I don't know, if you look at the, I guess, general views of different states, Oklahoma is way behind the times on a lot of different things.
on
So
a lot of
obviously this is
things.
going to be one of them because it's
Yeah,
an animal and
And it sucks. And I never want to come across to that guy that leaves Oklahoma and then just shits on it. But at the
No.
same time, like, we just have to acknowledge these things. Like, it's one of those things, like, an alcoholic doesn't stop drinking until he acknowledges the alcoholic. Like, until
Right.
Oklahoma realizes these things are problems, you can't get going in the right direction. And,
Yeah.
and shout out to everybody. Sometimes I get like, I don't want to say survivor's guilt, but just like damn, you kind of bailed on, like, instead of making it a better place, like you did. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I've had those
Oh, I
conversations
think
with
about
myself.
moving from Oklahoma all the time. And I'm
Yeah,
like, but then, I'm like, well, I've started this rescue with my team members and we're in this together and this is our whole mission. So I'm like, I can't leave here and leave this whole mass
yeah.
destruction to just keep going on,
And shout out. That's what I said all that to say. Like, I'm kind of like, shout out to those people you and other people doing dope shit in Oklahoma that just didn't give up, that just are fighting tooth and nail to just you know provide Oklahoma what they deserve. Like that. That's
Right.
why I don't shit on Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma
Yeah.
deserves the world. The people of Oklahoma deserve the world. There's just a certain segment of the population, what I'm saying, that's
Yes.
like holding everything back. Um,
It's like if we could all just be open-minded a little bit, we can all get relevant with everything that's going on and understand, but it'll take time, but I think it'll happen. I am confident that we'll all get on the same page about all that kind of stuff.
yeah, yeah. Because right, if we can't agree on puppies, what the
Yeah,
fuck can we
what?
agree on as
Like we'll never
Americans?
we'll never find common ground, you guys. It's a
Like
cute
that.
puppy. Come on.
Come on, right? Like, if we can't agree on this, I feel you. So I think that your platform has a lot, potential to bridge other parts of society as well. Um, Let me ask you this: Do you? Because I don't know if this is a misconception or just a bona fide fact, and you know better than me. Would you say that there's more like homeless pit bulls than other breeds? Like, do you come? It seems like I said, I don't know if that's a stereotype or like I've
No,
seen a lot of it in my life. Like, it seems
it's
to be kind of
true.
true. Yeah, right.
It's true. It's true. It's definitely true. And I think that pit bulls are just so overbred. Pit bulls got the whole, all of the fighting dogs. Everybody wants like a mean looking guard dog that they can chain up and stuff like that. Or, there are
And I'll
still,
say this because I don't expect you to say this, and I'm
mhm,
going to step up and use my platform to say this. Like we have a real problem with this in the black community, y'all. I'm talking to you. This isn't Logan. I'm speaking to the black community here. Like, this shit's got to stop. This fucking DMX been out of style for 20 years anyway, y'all. Fucking, like, this shit has got to stop, of like wanting, like, pit bulls and having Instagram pictures with your gun and your pit bull. That is the most ignorant goddamn shit. It makes us look bad as people. It's bad for the dogs. I'm not saying black folks don't get pit bulls. I love pit bulls, but do it the right way, responsibly. Love that fucking dog. You know what I'm saying? Don't cut off his fucking ears. Don't cut off his fucking
yes.
tail. Love that dog. Bring it inside when it's cold. You know what I'm saying? Get that little motherfucker a Christmas sweater. You
I
know
was
what I'm
gonna say, get
saying?
him a sweater.
Yeah, and just do it right. Like I get it. Like, there's a cultural attachment between the black and Latino communities and the breed that is pit bulls. Like, I get it. I'm not saying inherently that's wrong or bad, but it's been gone about in these ignorant ass terrible ways, and I've witnessed it. I've been a part of it. So that's why I'm not speaking from no high horse. I'm speaking from experience, from being in members of these, being entrenched in these communities. This is where I'm from. That's where I spent my time, in ratchet black places in Oklahoma. Like, I know all about that. You ain't gonna tell me shit about that. And I know I've heard these conversations. I've been in these rooms. I've been, people literally sell pit bulls like drugs. You trap pit bulls. Like, that's a thing. That's like, and to these desperate people in Corona that are trying to scratch, and get by. I know it ain't easy to make money right now, but selling pit bulls ain't the way to do it. And so I just, like I said, I would never expect you to kind of come at from that perspective, but I just, like, I wanted to use my voice and my platform, you know what I'm saying, to address that and just put the rat on the table.
Right.
I don't think we could have an honest conversation about what the topic that we're discussing if I didn't kind of just lay that out. And so I kind of just wanted to get that out of the way
Yeah.
because it was kind of a natural transition from the pit bull question. And like I said, I wanted to just kind of take the lead. I would never expect you to go there. But
Right.
I know, like, after hearing me say that, you've had to see like examples of this, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen so many of these things, even little small towns in Oklahoma where, someone notifies us or, some authority figure, somebody, that has to do with animals, about some sort of dog biting ring. And of course, it's all pit bulls, where there's just stakes, out there's 40 stakes out on this big piece of land, and all the dogs are chained up to these stakes and they don't get fed for a few days. And then when it's time for them to be fed, they put them in the fighting ring, so they're just going for blood. And we're like, oh my gosh, like what can we do about this? And then come to find out the little teeny town sheriff is in on it.
oh,
Or
without a
the
doubt.
I didn't know
Without
that
a
that was a thing
doubt.
until I started seeing this like firsthand. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, we need to call the police. Call the police. Like the police will go out there. And they're like, the police run it. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my
Oh
God. And
yeah.
that's not to say that all police are involved in things like this. I'm just like,
No,
I have
that's
seen it where they have been. And so I'm like, well, then what do you do at that point?
no, exactly. And it's, man, people think of like big city corruption, like New York and LAPD, like on the take. I
Yeah.
swear to them small town sheriffs are in on all of it. And I've lived in Garvin County, Oklahoma. I lived in
Even like
McLean
the
County,
chicken
Oklahoma.
fighting,
Oh
which
yeah.
is gross too. I'm like, that's gross too. But
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is like it is, which I maybe sounds ironic to me coming from a person who's a huge MMA fan. Like I love watching people fight, but
oh
guess
yeah,
what?
same.
People can consent. People can consent,
Yes.
right?
I'm like,
Isn't
you're
that what
doing
it's
that because
all
you want
about?
to.
You want to,
Yeah.
exactly. No, or you find it the best option for you. Yeah, I think
No one's exploiting you to make money off you by putting you in danger where you're potentially losing your life, and not feeding
yeah.
you and I mean, it's just like it's crazy. It's
Now,
crazy.
have you ever like had to either A, take in yourself, or B, rehome a dog, like a former fighting dog before?
I have not. Um, I know that one of my friends who was actually with she's involved with our rescue now, 405 animal rescue. She helped with this whole big bust. It was a small town. I can't remember what the town was, but I probably wouldn't say it anyways, just for
Yeah, I
yeah.
feel you.
But I can't even remember what it was, but it was some little town around Norman. I don't know. Um, and I want to say that there were, I mean, at least 15 to 20 dogs. And so they got busted. All these dogs were taken either to the shelter or rescues were trying to find placement for them. And one of my friends actually helped get one of those dogs, kept him in her home for I don't know. I want to say it was like a month or two at least because I mean, like you couldn't approach this dog. He was so scared. He wasn't even mean. He wasn't a mean, aggressive dog. He was scared. So when she could finally get to him to the point where he could come out of his shell and be like, okay, wait, this is my new normal. I'm going to be fed. I'm going to be loved on. No one's going to hurt me. Then he was finally adopted. And I think that is a huge misconception about all of these dogs, like thinking that they're just mean dogs. And I'm like, they're
Yeah,
not. It's like a child that's never been parented before or been running around on their own. You just have to show them, give them time to, settle in. I just think that the hugest thing about stuff like that is expecting these dogs to be perfect or expecting them to be good dogs right off the bat. But I'm like,
yeah,
as a person, if I'm thrown into a whole new situation, everything that I've ever known, whether it be good or bad, is ripped away and I'm thrown over here. I'm not going to act like I normally would. I'm probably going to be on edge. I'm going to be standoffish.
totally.
So I think
Man,
that, yeah.
yeah, no, I gotta say, shout out to you because I love when a guest answers my next question without me
Oh,
even having to ask it. So you rock. And then also, me being Mr. Dog Dad now, like I'm in like these multi-poo Facebook groups, and
yes.
and it's like, man, what blows my mind? These people expect their dog to be perfect, and I'm like, bitch, you ain't perfect. Why the fuck would your dog be perfect?
Yes.
Like I'm not perfect. Like I can be an asshole. I have my bad days. Like
Yes, I
I
have
have
my bad days. I get an attitude sometimes.
totally. So
So,
like, why the fuck? Like and just like as an intelligent human being, why would I expect a dog to be perfect when it's a dog? Like
yeah,
I don't expect people to be perfect, and
right.
people aren't perfect. Like it blows my mind. I like posted like a video of like me like playing tug of war with my dog,
Mm-hmm.
and like and this lady, and there was like, you know, like 20 comments like, oh yeah, my dog loves that. And then like this one lady was like, oh, I don't allow my dog to do this because I was told when training him that this is bad behavior. And it's like, you don't let your dog have fun. Like, your dog hates
You're
you.
like, so
Like,
what do you do with your
yeah,
dog then?
like, do you just want your dog to stare at the fucking wall all day? Like, I don't know.
People
Like,
think of them as furniture, like
yeah.
a yard ornament. Like, it's just ridiculous. I'm like, whenever you get an animal, you should view them as a family member, of course. But also, I kind of think of my dogs. I'm not saying like my dogs are my children, which I'm like they are, but
No, I
um,
feel you. I feel you. I struggle with that myself.
yeah, I'm like these are my babies. But I mean, like whenever they're acting up, which my dogs like they're really good dogs. They're big dogs, so people get kind of weirded out about them because they also are very protective of me, which I love. I'm like, if I'm walking them and it's dark outside, nobody's coming up to mess with me.
Yeah,
Um,
that's great.
but if they're at the house, they're not in crates. They're well trained, but if they're at the house all day and I'm gone for work and I haven't been here in 7 hours, when I get home, they're gonna be rowdy.
Oh
They're gonna
yeah.
be rowdy. They're gonna want me to either play with them, they're gonna want to go on a walk or to the park or whatever. And if I don't do that, they're gonna be rowdy and annoying the entire night. So when people are like, I'm gonna go to work for 9 hours a day, and then I'm gonna come home and sit on my couch, and my dog needs to mind their business and not bother me, I'm like, that's not realistic. It's not realistic, and that's not a good life for a dog, honestly.
Man, and you know what it is too, because like my dog has made me so much less selfish. Like
Yeah.
and I was the only child. Like every selfish, like narcissist. Like I've been accused a lot of that, and I've been guilty of a lot of that. And like, but you know, it's something I worked on. But my dog has made me so much more just like selfless. Like, cause
Yeah.
like, guess what? If I'm tired, but my dog got to pee, it don't really
Mm-hmm.
fucking matter that I'm tired. Like,
Yeah,
you know, like, or if my
I
dog's
agree.
hungry, but my legs are sore from skating, I gotta go feed my dog. Like, I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
you put yourself kind of second, and just I think that's just that, talking about like bigger societal issues. Like, I think
Yeah.
that's one that kind of bleeds down to the dogs. It's like people are lazy and selfish, and their dogs pay the price for it essentially.
Yeah. And
And unfortunately,
I think that all of that will improve if the education that dogs are not property and dogs are not, lawn ornaments, or like I said, an ornament to look cute in your home. It's an actual living being that needs to be taken care of. I think when that idea gets more understood just throughout everyone, then all of that will be more understood.
man, just to play devil's advocate, like people don't even feel that way about people though.
I
Like
know.
low
Yeah.
key, you know what I'm saying? Like it
Yes.
sucks. It sucks. Like, but I gotta say, just like I don't know. I like to read body language, energy, vibes. Like I'm a good nonverbal communicator, and like back in the day, like me and my boys could be like on opposite sides of the classroom, like make each other laugh with like a
Yeah.
glance, and so I'm good on that. And I like if you can't pick up like on like my dog talks to me with her eyes,
Yes.
like her energy, her like
Absolutely.
she'll just like I don't know, and I know not all dogs are like that. My dog literally like if she needs to go to the bathroom, she'll go scratch on the door. She wants to
Mm-hmm.
play, she'll bring me a toy. Like
Yeah.
she'll literally go
Exactly.
grab her food bowl and like slam it down with her mouth.
Yes. It's like cling, cling. And I'm like, all right, I'm coming. I'm coming.
So it's like for people to tell me that dogs don't know like when they're cold or when they're hungry or if they're loved or
Or that they
that's
don't have souls
yeah, that's
or
bullshit.
don't have
That's
feelings
bullshit.
or emotions. I'm like, that was like, anytime somebody says something like that, I'm like, then you've never been around any sort of animal. Like, that's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah, no doubt. And I mean, I'm not saying that like it's the same as like human consciousness, but it's a
Right.
hell of a lot more than like, you know, a fish or a frog. Like there's something
Mm-hmm.
special going on with dogs. Like it really is like
Yeah.
and then just the whole I don't know. I like to get kind of just go down this stoned rabbit hole sometimes of just how like I'll look at my tiny little Maltipoo and just think how like humans have like directly kind of like played God and bred new like animals, like
Yeah.
created like little Pokemons, like
Yeah.
essentially like these dogs don't exist, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no such thing as a wild Maltipoo or like
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
we
How did all of these domesticated dogs, like all these different kinds,
well, and then
come to
you
be?
I kind of went down this rabbit hole one day, and it blew my mind how fast it happened. Like humans did like hundreds of millions of years in evolution in like 200 years
Yeah.
with dogs. I shit you not. Like just selective breeding, like going back even like a
That's
couple
crazy.
hundred years. Like, and you just what else could like we've done the
Yeah.
same thing with weed strains. Like you could do that with any animal if you
Anything.
wanted to.
Yeah.
That's
That's
wild. Like that,
crazy.
it's some Jurassic Park shit. Like dogs are Jurassic Park
Yes.
experiments. Like
Oh my gosh.
seriously.
I would
Like
go
I
to
know.
that.
Yeah, definitely. That
I'm like,
that
I'll be the
sign me
first
up.
person to buy a ticket to that.
So, have you ever? And you kind of touched on this. Like, have you ever seen like a quote unquote like mean dog that just kind of was like unredeemable? Like it always just had like a little bit of sketch in him.
Yeah. I have two dogs that I'd like to talk about that just like immediately came to my mind. There's one dog that I've personally brought home and fostered him. He was tied to a chain. He was this was it was either in January or February. I don't know. It was snowy and icy and freezing cold for Oklahoma. And I think it was January. And he was tied to a tree and it was only long enough for him to lay down right next to the tree. And it was like a sloshy, icy mud puddle. And
Mm.
that was all he had. That was all he had. And so somebody took him off of that chain and I had him in my home for about 2 months. And this dog, I mean, I loved him. He loved me and all my dogs, but he didn't know how to be a normal dog. All he knew was, I don't know when I'm going to eat or drink next, and I'm freezing cold. No one takes care of me. No one talks to me. I don't have any kind of interaction. Um, so he was really difficult. He would be super nice if it was something that he was wanting to do, but when it was time to go to bed, or I'm like, no, everyone has to go outside to potty before bed, and he didn't want to go. I mean, this dog was like this close. I mean, he almost bit my nose, like
Damn.
snapping so hard. And he was a husky, a full blood husky, but he was probably only 50 pounds, but still, like he
Yeah.
was not happy with me. So I was like, oh my God. I was like, he's trying to like bite me in the face. I was like, I don't know what to do. I was like, I'm not trying to get my face bit or even
Yeah.
my hand or anything. I was like, I don't know what to do. And so I started talking to a few people that had a little bit more experience just with, you know, dog training in general, or have had dogs like this that they've dealt with. And everyone was like, you have to let him know that you're the one that's the boss. So they were like, you don't have to be mean to him. You don't have to spank him or anything like that, but you have to let him know, hey, I'm in control here and you're going to listen to me. And so I waited, a little while to where he could trust me enough to know, hey, this person is going to, let me inside or outside when I want to. She's going to provide me with a warm place to sleep. I'm going to be fed, like all this stuff. And so once he trusted me and he would snuggle up to me, that's when I was like, okay, he trusts me enough. I need to show him, hey, I'm the boss. Basically, I'm the parent and you're the kid,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're going to
For real.
listen to me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I had to get really stern with him, but it was amazing. Like I
It
think
worked.
that was I think that was my downfall with any dog that I've ever had. If I'm like, oh, they're problematic, or oh, they're not listening to me, I think it was because I was being too soft. Because I was like, I just want to snuggle them and like be nice
Yeah.
to them. Yeah, which is really detrimental to them. I mean, obviously you want to do that and stuff, but when it comes to situations where
There has to
you're
be
needing to discipline
boundaries.
them, yes, the
Yeah.
boundaries.
Yeah.
So I really had to be stern with him. And I'm not even kidding, it was a matter of 3 days. And when I would tell him, like, go to bed, he would go to bed. And so I was
That's,
like, oh, I was like, thank you, Lord, because
yeah.
I
That's
didn't know
awesome.
what else I was going to do.
Yeah,
Um,
seriously though, because I mean, if you think about it, like humans need that. So
yeah.
why, like, going to get back to those crazy Facebook ladies who want their dogs to be perfect? It's like if
Mm-hmm.
humans need boundaries and
Yes.
authority and someone to keep them in check, then why the hell wouldn't a dog? Yeah, for sure. We've
Yeah.
all we've all seen the spoiled kid that grew up to be an
A
absolute shit
jerk.
show. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
we've seen it. We've
That
all know those people. Like,
And that's what I feel like I compare like these situations to. I'm like, this dog is the kid that you went to middle school and high school with, that the parents let them do whatever the heck they wanted to. And then they grow up and or they're in the adult world and they're just flailing around and I don't know. So I'm
No,
like,
no, I
somebody
feel
has to
you.
put
Yeah,
you in your place. I mean,
yeah, yeah. All of
um,
us, all of us. It's one of
yeah,
those things. It's like, to quote the great Ice Cube, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Like
check
if nobody
yourself.
checks you, life will check you. Like straight up. Like and
With this dog, I was like, I better check you before you take a chunk of
me.
my face out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely, definitely. Man, so I got to ask you, like, what? I mean, so does your, I don't know, what do you call it? Do you have a nonprofit? What do you call your
Yes.
organization?
Yeah, we're a 100% certified 501c3 nonprofit. It's called 405 Animal Rescue. So,
And are you guys on social media, website,
yeah,
anything like that? Go ahead and shout
yeah.
that out.
We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, everything, all of our tags for everything. It's 405 the numbers, 405 Animal Rescue. Um, we have a website too. But it's just
Sweet.
405animalrescue.org. And we rely solely on donations. So like me and the two other there's me and there's two other co-founders, but then we have a few other team members, and no one is paid. Like these are not paid positions, these are volunteer positions. We all have our like full-time jobs or our day jobs and stuff, and this is what we do in our free time,
That's badass.
which ultimately takes up more time than our actual jobs do, because this is, I mean, it's nonstop. But
Yeah.
the medical cases that we take in, the euthanasia cases, all that kind of stuff, I mean, we wouldn't be able to save any of these dogs if it wasn't for donations. We don't have any like major donors, that donate, a handful amount of money each month and stuff. But when we post our stories that, hey, this is the dog that we've just saved, this is what's going on, they're they're really often heart-wrenching stories. I mean, a dog that is having super bad seizures, or a dog that was set on fire, or
Fuck.
a pregnant mom that was dumped out in the woods and she had her babies in the woods by her, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So people see that stuff and they donate, and so, which is great that we're reaching people, because that's what keeps us going and we're able to save more of these dogs. And then our adoption fees help with that. But it really is the donations that keep us going.
And is there a donate link on the website, or
Yes,
or where do people donate?
there's people can donate through our website. On our Facebook page, there's like, how you can donate on Facebook to different organizations. We have one of those, but we
Sweet.
have PayPal and Cash App.
Sweet. So they could just
Trying to
reach out
think.
to you if they were interested in
Yeah.
donating. All
Yeah,
right. Awesome.
and I can send you like our links to our social media.
Cool,
So,
cool, for sure,
yeah.
for sure. And then also, I wanted to ask you, because I've been in this position myself and not knowing what to do. You
Yeah.
come across a stray dog, right? It's friendly, it's everything's good. Maybe they don't have a phone number, they don't have a tag or whatever, or you call
Yeah.
the number and nobody answers, or whatever the case may be. What is the next step? Because I feel like most people, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Hmm.
I don't want to call the animal shelter, because like I may be killing this dog
You're
by
like, I don't
signing.
want them to put the dog down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it say the owner can't find them, or you know what I'm saying? It's like I
Yeah.
feel like I don't know. I feel fucked up calling the animal shelter, but I mean, obviously, you can't, like most average people out there ain't just gonna take random dogs home. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I don't know. What is your advice to people if they find a stray or maybe find themselves in that scenario? Do you think they're better off calling a nonprofit first or something like that?
So, if you find a stray dog, there are certain laws that like you can't, like a rescue can't just immediately take a dog. So if somebody finds a stray dog, and this is what we always recommend to people too, like if people message us constantly saying, hey, I found this dog, can you help me? I don't want to take it to the shelter because they're going to
Yeah.
put it down,
Mm-hmm.
especially if they're like, it's a pit bull, they're just going to put him down immediately, like all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I totally understand. Obviously, I don't agree with any of that stuff. And so what we tell people is, if you find a stray dog, or you have a dog that you come in contact with and there's no collar or tag, or you can't get in contact with the owners, the first thing to do is take them, if you're able to, take them to either a shelter or a vet's office, because they'll scan them for a microchip. The microchip is in between the
Mm-hmm.
shoulder blades of the dog. So they'll scan for a microchip. They'll scan the whole body too, just because sometimes the microchips can migrate. But if there is a microchip, they'll be able to pull up the owner's information and try to get in contact with them that way, and it doesn't cost anything. If you go to, it doesn't matter where you go, a shelter or a vet clinic, it won't cost you anything to do that.
That's good
Um,
to know.
I always recommend people taking the dog to the shelter because they can scan for the microchip. If there's not a microchip, the dog's not going to be euthanized immediately. Every single dog has to serve a stray hold time. It's different between each city. Sometimes it's 5 days, sometimes it's 7 days, sometimes it's 3 days. I mean, it just depends on the city. So if you were to take a dog, you can kind of ask them, hey, what's your stray hold time? And if you give your information that, hey, I was the one that brought this dog in, they'll let you call and check in on that dog. So
Okay.
you'll know if they've been picked up by their owner or, if a rescue has tagged them or something like that. So with that being said, during that stray hold time, most of the time there's a group that rescues are in. It's not available to the public, but rescues will post and say, hey, this dog came in, we don't know if it has an owner or not, but here's some of the information about this dog. Can anybody help this dog if he's not reclaimed by his owner? And so a lot of times some rescue, I mean, because there's so many of us, a lot of times somebody will be able to help the dog. And
Okay, so
it's
it's not
very
as
rare.
gloomy.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
not as like doom and gloom as you would think when you're like, I'm dropping this dog off at the shelter. This is a death
Yeah.
sentence. No,
I feel
it's
like a
really not that
snitch.
bad. Yeah, no, it's not that bad. Like I said, rescues are definitely notified before anything like that were to happen, but also this like certain day, stray hold time has to be served. So even if the dog isn't microchipped, the owner has enough time to call the shelter, to come by to see if their dog is there. And I mean, a lot of times it ends up in a good situation. The only time I think that's another thing. I think that people talk about like kill shelters, or they're like, we need more no kill shelters. I'm like, I don't really think there's such a thing as no kill shelters. Um, we don't have enough space. When
Yeah.
we have 1,000 dogs and we have 300 kennels, what are we gonna do?
Yeah,
I
actually,
mean,
and that's precisely. I have one last final question for
yeah,
you, and it's essentially that exact question. So once again, shout out to you. But Logan's president for a day or whatever. You're king of the universe, queen of the universe. You can snap your fingers and make something happen. Is there in like logical alternative to like euthanasia? Like, is there, you know what I'm saying? Or is it just kind of inevitability and like not everything's, peaches and roses? You know what I mean?
at this point in time, and I hate to be like, I don't want to be a bearer of bad news, but I feel like at this point in time, euthanasia is inevitable. I mean, for some dogs,
Yeah.
because the solution to this problem is spay and neuter laws.
It,
So
it,
it's
it
like,
it's further up the upstream. The
right.
problem is like by the time you get to euthanasia, that's the mouth of the
The
river.
whole yeah. The whole problem has already happened and been happening and way past like anybody blocking that threshold. Um, I think that people blame shelters a lot of the times, which, we're not a shelter, we're a rescue. We partner with shelters, but the shelter workers, I mean, like, people always try to blame them. I'm like, they wouldn't be working there if they didn't care about saving the animals or taking care of these animals. But people are always like, you're murderers, you're trying to kill these dogs, blah, blah. I'm like, you don't understand. You don't understand.
Yeah, that's probably the worst day of their month or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
Yes.
nobody's out there. It's not like freaking Nazis or you know what I mean. It's just
No. Yeah.
yeah. I feel you. That's probably an unfair characterization, of the
It's
shelters.
crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah,
So, I mean, they hate it. The shelter workers hate it. Everybody hates it. It's
yeah.
awful. Nobody, so I mean, when everyone's like, we need more no-kill shelters, I'm like, how? How will we have no-kill shelters when we don't have funding and we don't have a facility, or we don't have people that are willing to take in an animal to foster? I'm like, that's not an option. I'm like,
Yeah, and
don't
that's
just
why
point
people.
fingers, be part of the solution.
Yeah. Those super uber idealistic people, like honestly, like lose the whole movement's credibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you, and that translates to whatever the cause may be. Every cause has those
Every
kind of
cause,
people.
yes.
Yeah, that just over idealistic,
They
like
just want to
the
have an opinion and point fingers, and I'm like, just okay, nobody cares about your anger right now. Just help out. If this is what you care about, be part of the solution.
yeah. There's things that'll work in theory, and then there's things that work in practice, and I feel like
Yeah.
people lose that concept all the time.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, I mean, honestly, that's all I have for you. And I mean, I really enjoyed it. And thank you
Yeah.
so much,
No,
for
thank
just
you for
providing
having me.
yeah, this was a really good episode. It's going to be available on the video will go to YouTube, and then the audio goes to like, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the platforms. So everybody that wants to check it out on there. And yeah, follow Logan's work, what she's doing. And just I think like everybody thinks you have to volunteer or do something drastic like we're talking about upstream. You can be part of the solution upstream by
Hmm.
not having these accidental litters, by spay and neuter, by not buying puppy mills, by just being a responsible pet owner and
Yeah,
giving and just living your life right. Essentially, like that translates. That's how a lot of life boils down. Just do the
I
right thing.
agree.
And you know what I mean? Try to make good decisions, that'll benefit, the greater, society as a whole. But yeah, just said thank you so much for being a part of episode 27. We'll go ahead and wrap it up, and I hope you have a great rest of
Thank
your
you
day.
for having me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Wishing you much success. Thank you for all you're doing.